We have a real driving test leaving from South Yardley. This was at 2:35. If you guys are following my page, you'll know that a couple of days ago my car was broken into. This is the test I was trying to get it ready for. Now this is quite a difficult time because it's leaving at 2:30, so there will be the school rush to contend with. So you guys know how this works. Any faults I'll be pointing out on the screen. Let's see how they do. Down this stretch here, it does get extremely tight. Sometimes it could be beneficial just to hold back. They did pick up a fault here for clearance. Even with the wide angle view, I could see they were very close to that white car and the Ford. Coming up to this junction, you'll notice that there's always changing roadworks. There's also quite a lot of cars parked up very close to the junction. Should they be there? No, but my learner does leave enough space between them and the parked vehicles. When entering the new road, remember, left is the normal driving lane. The lane to the right merges, so do a right mirror check here, just make sure no one's trying to overtake you. If they are, depending on the situation, sometimes it's best to let them past. What I mean by that is reduce the speed slightly, let them go past you. But if you can see that they're quite clearly behind you, just make sure you're doing a reasonable speed limit. It's now good to move back over to the left-hand lane. They do good mirror checks and move across. Notice how they did it just before the left-hand turn that was there. Again, really good practice. It doesn't mislead anyone into thinking you could be turning into that road. So let's all remember, guys, it is a 30 mph limit here now. Yes, there's a lot of cars overtaking them, but they are doing the limit. Now this roundabout here can sometimes be a bit tricky just because of how busy it is. They've been asked at the roundabout to go left. They saw a good opportunity and they took it. At the roundabout, sometimes you do have to take slightly tighter gaps than what you might be used to. So make sure you practice this roundabout at quite a few different angles. Now this is when the busy times kind of work to your benefit. They're stuck in traffic, they're doing good clutch control, so it's just taking up time from your test. Remember, it will only be a maximum of 45 minutes. Notice how the road widens. They could have moved back over to the left-hand lane at this point. There's no parked cars on the left and they're not turning right anytime soon. That would also take some pressure off of you, allowing cars that want to go over the speed limit to pass you. So they did pick up one fault here because they were expected to move back over to the left-hand lane. Now this is a much shorter strip where you can already see cars parked up on the left. It would be acceptable for the moment to remain in the right-hand lane. And they've also been told shortly they're going to be turning right. That's why they're currently in this lane. So remember, left lane is the normal driving lane, right lane is for overtaking or turning right, most of the time. If you look to the left, you'll see that one of the lights is green. That's for left only. Don't be fooled into thinking that's your light. I have seen countless people before run through this red light thinking the one to the left is for them. It is not. They're taking the next road on the left. Sometimes I do find it is a little bit of a sharp turn. If you were to have the positioning of the car in front, for example, it would make things a little bit harder. More than likely, you would end up partially on the wrong side of the road. They keep a good positioning and they stay tucked into the left nicely. So you just noticed that the windscreen went a bit blurry. They had to show me tell me question. There wasn't any problems with that whatsoever. Approaching this roundabout, I was thinking the car to the left was going to pull out. My learner kept on going, which at that time was the right thing to do because they did stop. They just approached it at a slightly less speed. So more examples of when you should be reducing your speed for a tight gap and also checking your mirrors as you pass a parked vehicle. Down this whole street is a prime example for that. The roundabout was fairly busy and they did take a good gap. They didn't miss anything there. Don't stress too much about having to wait at roundabouts. There's this really silly myth going around that if you wait too long at a roundabout, you'll fail for that. If there's no obvious gaps, you will not fail for waiting. So we are pretty much halfway through, 2 minors, very, very good start. You'll notice in the distance a car sticking out. My learner did notice, reduced their speed slightly, looked to the right, and then passed it. They've been asked to take the next road on the right. Things can get quite complicated on the road in South Yardley. There's a lot of one-way roads and dual carriageways. The positioning here could have been a bit better. They should have come off directly in the right-hand lane as it was quite clear the left is blocked. They've been asked to take the next road on the left. They do move over, but I think they missed the entrance to it. The turning is just to the left now. However, they missed it and they checked the mirrors and moved back over to the right. They did pick up a fault there for planning and awareness due to the fact that they changed back over to the left lane only to immediately move back to the right. As they turn here, they do think it's a normal turn and they went to move out when it wasn't safe to do so. The examiner did have to jump in and use the controls at this point. It was when they first went to enter the box. Here the examiner was talking them through how to go all the way around on themselves. They're basically doing a U-turn so they can be back on track. That very nice silver learner card to the left let them in. Thank you very much if you're watching. They've now entered back in their road and they're on track. On this stretch of road they have a lot of space to the right, but they stay very close to the left hand side. They pick up one fault for clearance here. There was enough room to the right, they were just keeping quite close to the left. Now because this road is only one way, if you were turning right, make sure you position to the right. For turning left, make sure you position to the left. Now this is actually a two-way road. So that means further down, to go right, you must be in the left-hand lane. You can see this by the road markings on the floor. So this is telling us we should be back over to the left. It's not a bike lane, but they position in the right-hand lane and that becomes a serious fault. I know that it's confusing because there's all of the bikes on the floor, but cars can drive down here as well. Down here it gets quite tight. There is an oncoming car and there is barely enough space for them to fit. Picked up another serious fault here. Here there was just about enough room for them to fit. Because the white car did, you'd pretty much know that you can. Sometimes you do need to think though, is it safe taking that gap? Is it better to hold back? Now coming up, this little bridge is absolutely horrible in my opinion. It just looks so tight. So down here we have yet another tight road. This is a one-way road, so it is a bit easier. Now this stretch of road is normally fairly easy. You should all be quite used to it as it's so close to the test centre. The main thing is if there's cars parked fully on the road, think, can you really fit? If you're unsure, reduce that speed, slow it down, hold back. They picked up a fault here due to their positioning with the curb. I believe they were a bit too wide out. I'm not quite sure why from the briefing. I believe that's what it's to do with. Again, sometimes it's better to hold back a bit sooner. That way you don't have to get too close to the parked up vehicle. So they're now heading back to the test centre where they're going to finish off their manoeuvre. There was no issues whatsoever, and they got in. Not the result they wanted, but altogether, I think it was a really good try.